The Blancpain GT World Challenge, the global three-continent championship, continues to unfold this weekend. It's Blancpain GT World Challenge America, rounds 7 and 8 here at Sonoma Raceway. Great to have you with us here for our coverage of this 7th round of the championship. 2 weeks after racing at the Speed Ring up in Canada, just outside of Toronto, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Teams made the long trek to the west coast of California to wine country, and this track about as different as it gets. Challenging, difficult to pass on, but this one is a huge technical challenge, and there's no better way to get a look at how this track presents its challenges than with America's only Porsche factory racer, Patrick Long.
Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. I'm Patrick Long, driver of the 58 Wright Motorsports Porsche GT3R. This is one lap of a technical, bumpy, and old-school racetrack. I love it. Turn 1, big bump on the outside. Some of the drivers hold it left here. You're fighting the car up to turn 2, second gear. Watch your throttle down here. You don't want to burn up your rear tires. It's going to be a attrition and game of preservation and tires. This is 3 and 3A. Very little braking. Completely blind here. You don't know where the end of the road is until you're there. Rush down into turn 4. Second gear, breathe the throttle, be patient on throttle. Again, build your speed back up, flat out through turn 5, approaching the carousel. Again, completely blind as you shoot over the corner. It's over 120 miles an hour, a little bit loose oversteer on the way in. You're building your speed, third gear, going to shift up to 4th and enter the back straightaway, which is part of the drag strip here at Sonoma. Now we're veering left, which is new this year. You'll see some dark patches here in the brake zone. Those are extra little pockets of grip. Bottom of second gear, very, very slow. This is 50 miles an hour. Some are using first gear here as we build through turn 7. Now we're going back into the fast, high-speed switchback section. Turns 8A. Quick, 4th gear, 120 miles an hour, shifting up to 5th. Sometimes this time I'm going to stretch 4th all the way down into a very tight technical corner. Turn 9, it's a hairpin, very difficult to pass here, but you can set your competition up here as I close in on our sister car, the 91 car, through turn 10 flat out into the final corner, which is turn 11. You can really get in deep and late here. You have to kind of square off the exit. You'll see me pull all the way down into the apex curve before I go to full throttle, and then it's all the way out against the white wall. Very, very quick and technical, lots of surface changes. It's going to be a great race. Thanks for riding along.
Well, as he said, and as you can see, incredibly technical, no question. He talked about the tire and the preservation that you have to have, but what it also showed, Gal, is there's no respite at this place.
You're up on the wheel. It's a busy, busy lap, and you're holding your breath a lot around this racetrack. His teammate there, Scott Hargrove, a really nice qualifying run to put that 58 Wright Motorsports Porsche on the outside of the front row, but the championship lead is Miguel Molina, laid down a lap. His teammate beat it in the second qualifying run, but that was not enough to beat Matt Campbell.
Yeah, very true. Campbell in that second qualifying was just spectacular in that car, the number 91 Wright Motorsport entry, but just a fabulous job by Miguel Molina. But again, the Wright Motorsports team, they had that great qualifying run, obviously, at the race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Didn't quite pay off for them, but we've been talking about Matt Campbell and how impressive that young man has been. And Ryan, he has lived up to the billing, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been great starting at Bathurst and then here stateside as well. Pulled for race 2. Quite a lap from you this morning. Anthony starting the car here in race number 1. How good is this race car?
Yeah, look, so far so good. I mean, we're really happy with the car performance, and certainly over practice we didn't get an opportunity to run green tyres. So to get that much performance out of the car in qualifying, we were really, really happy, and obviously starting off pole with Pro-Am is fantastic. So really looking forward to the race now.
What has the message been to Anthony about the start of this race, making sure he's got tires under him for the full stint?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is the biggest part of this race. I mean, just managing the tires. Obviously, it's quite hot today, and the track is very abrasive. So, getting through the first lap and then just setting into a rhythm and just being as smooth as possible and looking after them rear tires because it's going to be a long day.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he's something special, isn't he, Matt Campbell? Just incredible what he can do behind the wheel of a car. And the interesting thing is, obviously, you get that mid-race mandatory pit stop, so there is a tire change, so you don't have to make the tires last for 90 minutes. But with the speeds and the loads that these cars run, getting the tires to last 40 minutes with this track service is going to be a challenge.
It is, and we talk about the undercut and the overcut in terms of when you make the pit stop.
Right.
I think if there's high tire deck, you should see a lot of drivers diving in early when that pit stop window opens to get a fresh set of rubber on, get the delta in lap time, build the gap, get the track position, and then live to fight another day in terms of guys on fresher tires coming on later at you. So look for that to happen today.
That's a good point, because here more than anywhere else possibly, if you pit early, come out on the fresher tires, the laps you put in while others are out on badly degraded tires can be huge.
Huge. Yeah, it can be 2 seconds a lap, so
wow.
you got a 10-minute window. It could be,
that is significant.
Could be 10 seconds right there.
Good run here as well for the 04, the CrowdStrike DXDT Racing entry, and nice to have this car from Global Motorsports Group, James Safronis, and a Porsche factory gun brought in for this one as well. Dirk Werner going to be driving the car in the second half of this race and starting the second race of the weekend. So again, James, the most experienced driver in World Challenge competition here in the field by a bunch, well over 200 starts. And it's great to have him on the grid. Global Motorsports Group well represented here. On the pole in the AM category, I think, or the Pro-Am category, is a big story in the fact that Brett not able to make the event here for a couple of reasons. They asked Mike Hedlund, who hasn't, he said, I haven't driven a race car since November, puts it on pole in Pro-Am, and this is a pretty trick piece of equipment to just hop in and get that kind of performance out of.
It really is, and he hasn't driven anything since back in November. He does have some GT3 experience. Remember, a couple of seasons ago, he ran with the Capex team with the McLaren, so he's familiar with GT3 machinery, but to step up and belay lap times that are so close to his teammate, Dane Cameron, who's had a big few weeks here, winning a bunch of races, it was a mega performance by Hedlund, and he'll roll off the grid in 6th position overall and leading those Pro-Am runners.
Yeah, very impressive run he put in, putting in a 1:38.8 to grab that pole position. In fact, out-qualifying Wolf Hensler in the Allegra Motorsports Porsche. That says something in its own right. And then Anthony Imperato, who was the co-driver with Matt Campbell, did a nice job in qualifying in his own right, qualifying second in the Pro-Am category, 8th overall in the Wright Motorsport, number 91, until Bechtelsheimer, who's just been impressive this year. We've always known he's quick, but he's just continuing to impress in the number 5 Gradient Racing Acura, 3rd in Pro-Am, Safronis 4th in Pro-Am, and then rounding out Pro-Am, Martin Barkey in the Racer's Edge Motorsports Acura. As we take a look at the lineup here, you see Daniel Morad in the Allegra Motorsports entry. We'll be starting in the 5th spot. Continue to head down through the grid, but you surprised to see the Bentleys sitting there sweeping the second row? I mean, there was some speculation that how good are they going to be here? We knew the new gen much better than the old one, but was it going to be this good? Boy, they showed something, I thought.
Yeah, they did, and I think over the practice days on Thursday and Friday, no one really knew what everyone had, because everyone was on different tires in terms of stickers or non-stickers and well-worn tires. So I think there's big question marks rolling into this morning's qualifying session. Bentley, everyone thought were Capex. It's their home turf. They should know the racetrack. They haven't done a ton of testing here, talking to the team. They did some shakedown with the car earlier this season, but even so, they were very fast here on Thursday. But when everyone stickered up, like Matt Campbell alluded to, when everyone stickered up, there was some big performance gain there, and it was really realizing that and making it happen. That first sector that Matt Campbell put together was really the lap right there.
Oh, it was
He had a
unreal.
huge margin over everyone else, and just total commitment, and the car stuck.
And some other interesting stories along with Hedlund as we go down through the grid just a little bit. We talked about Safronis back, but in the number 31 TR3 Racing Ferrari, Patrick Byrne, Guy Cosmo are back and running. They ran one race last year and are back now in that Torxton number 31. Great to have them as part of it. Patrick having a little off during one of the practice sessions, but otherwise they've been right there and fairly quick. In the number 19 111 competition, Ferrari, Christopher Cagnazzi has been running of the season, joined for the first time, making his debut in a GT3 Ferrari, Andy Lally.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of a resume, does
No,
he?
nothing to speak of.
No, it's cool when we got a lot of new faces on the grid. You mentioned Lally, Werner, of course, the TR3 group. Skeen is filling in for Ryan D'Allen, the number 63 DXDT Mercedes. And then we've also talked about Hedlund, obviously, his first start of the year. So it's a fresh grid. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out today.
Another big story, you just saw that Hublot Alpha Prime, the Squadra Corsa Garage Italia, for our recent announcement that the biggest GT race probably on the planet, the 24 Hours of Spa, that team is going to be going and running. There's a number of drivers in this field that will be running there as well. So some really cool news unfolding here. And Martin Fuentes and Cesar Baccarella, I know they are excited.
Yeah, good to see Martin back. They missed around a CTMP. I believe Martin had a shoulder injury that he had to rest up for a little bit, but he's feeling fine. He's a very fit guy, proud of his fitness, which he should be, and that'll be 100% to drive one of these race cars with the high downloads and forces that are put through you.
I think his large part of his fitness just comes from whatever's pinging in that blood system is.
He's high energy and adrenaline is pumping.
Yeah, I remember, what is it, in the victory circle at Circuit of the Americas, Baccarella at one point said, you got to be crazy to stand out next to Martin here. So, yeah, they're a fun pairing and doing a really, really nice job. And let's take a look now at this track, Cal.
Super challenging, almost 2.5 miles, 12 turns. It's a fast start. You cross that finish line and you go up into turn 1, and it's a big bump there, compression through turn 1. Lots of elevation change, which really adds to the challenge of learning a circuit for the first time. The carousel turn there just after sector 1, big long left-hander, really loads up the right side tires. And then down into that turn 7 hairpin, so some overtaking opportunities there. Fast through the S's, then a big brake zone for the chicane. And then another opportunity down into turn 11. The final braking zone for the lap. So it's a tough circuit, tough on tires, not easy to pass, but there are some opportunities to make a move.
Yeah, and that map, it looks tricky enough just looking at the map. It's a whole different ballgame when you factor in the elevation, and particularly as you crown 2, total blind commitment, apex right at the top of the hill, same thing at 3A. I mean, all of the blind commitment parts of this track, Pat talked about it. You come out of 4, climb into 5, totally blind, turning into 6. I mean, it just keeps coming at you. It's truly relentless.
It is, and they're not just minor elevation changes. These are big hills that you're climbing and descending down, so it really adds to the challenge. But I think today is going to be all about tire management. I mean, this is going to be a long stint on these tires. Pit window opens between 40 and 50 minutes, and as we talked about the undercut, pitting early and getting some fresh Pirelli P0s and having your co-driver lay down some fast laps to try and gain some track position.
The official safety and pace vehicle, the Acura NSX, into the pit lane. So the field now under control of the front row. That's Miguel Molina in the red R. Ferry Ferrari, and Scott Hargrove in the white and black Wright Motorsports Porsche Consulting Porsche here as they start to bunch up, coming through turn 11 and queuing up for the final turn, turn 12. 90 minutes of racing. Mandatory stop in the middle, tires, fuel, driver, and it all is going to set sail now. And Molina, boy, he rolled into it right as that green came up. And look at Hargrove trying to stay put around the outside. There's a touch. Hargrove, big wiggle, Cal.
Total commitment there. Can he hang on to the second spot? No, he doesn't. One of the Bentleys gets around him. That's Baptista. Molina brought them up really slowly, but Hargrove was totally committed. He wanted the lead.
We've seen Hargrove drive some brilliant opening laps here.
Look at Hedlund there,
wow,
right in the mix, putting the pressure on. Andy Suchek. Oh, there's a touch there. Morad, maybe.
I think that was. Daniel lost that spot. Hedlund got him. Morad trying to fight back. All right, down into the carousel. Tires nowhere near up to temperature and pressure.
What a performance by Mike Hedlund, battling out with the big boys and jumping back in a race car for the first time in 7 months.
And I just keep hearkening back to 2014, I think. He was driving for the Squadra Corsa team, Scuderia Corsa team, and had a top 3 finish here. So he can get it done, but it's been a while, that's for sure. On board with Hensel. We got some good onboard looks as this race unfolds. Hensel now working on his teammate Murad.
Look at the gap that Hedlund's opened up. Was under immense pressure. Got a good start up through the turn 1-2 complex. Got in front of Morad. Morad put a big attack on him down into turn 4. And Hedlund just rebuffed that and just took off. Baccarella there just dropping a wheel there, exiting turn 10. David Askew there at the back of the pack, coming back from a little bit of an incident in final practice yesterday, but He's someone who seems to rebound from those moments very, very quickly.
Yeah, he shakes it off very well. Molina, there's another look at that start. Watch the move by Edlin, just went flat around the outside, but there's Hargrove's big moment.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not sure if Molina was just wanting all of that road or whether he saw Hargrove trying to make a move around the outside and didn't want to give him any racing room. It's a great catch by Hargrove. I thought he was going to have a big one there. Just great driving. Then watch this. You see Hedlund's got that bright orange and white Acura NSX up to the 5th spot. He comes under attack from Morad a little bit later in the lap, but meanwhile up front, Bentley's run 2 and 4.
And while this track doesn't have those massive, long, high-speed duration corners of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it's known as a track, even with the chicane, it's not the easiest place to pass on. You've got to work your way here and be very, very aggressive when you get close, don't you?
You do, but already these drivers will be thinking about tire management.
Right.
There's been such a huge drop-off. They've recognized that over the last 3 days of participating here at this circuit.
Down to the chicane. That second curb in the chicane, they said you can use all the curbs. We don't want tires in the dirt at all. And everybody taking advantage of that. You're going back to Hedlund just real quick. He had said that, he said after racing a lot over the last few years, he said, I maybe got a little too competitive. And he was edgy and the whole thing. And he said I came back, just ran some GT4 last year and took a little bit of a break. And boy, it served him well, hasn't it?
I don't think he even got the call from P.D. Cunningham until Tuesday to see if there was an opportunity. And the deal didn't get done till Wednesday. So very much a late call. But boy, has he been up on the wheel.
He has.
Within a couple of laps, Dane Cameron said he was immediately on the pace.
Yeah, basically he told me, he said that he got the call, would you be available if? And he said, sure. And then it was confirmed Wednesday afternoon, basically. And he had to spend Wednesday working with the series registrar staff to get his licenses in place because he hadn't driven anything. And he said they were immensely helpful. Got him in this seat, and he has delivered.
On board there, exiting the carousel, nice and smooth on the wheel. I think one thing that may help is that this is such a low grip circuit. When you get thrown in at the deep end like this, these GT3 cars on a high grip circuit take a tremendous amount of commitment. And I think that may have eased the path for Mike Hedlund to get up to speed here.
That's a good point. Yeah, when you're in high grip with that downforce, you've got to just be willing to do it, don't you? Boy,
look at the pressure there, Hargrove on Baptista. Going to get a run to the inside. Baptista's going to take that inside lane. Hargrove still, oh, that was tight as he swings back across the bumper of the Bentley.
He's going to try and, if he can stay to the outside, it's tough to do, isn't it?
Yeah, watch Soucek there. He's going to try and take advantage of this battle in front of him. Hargrove is just super aggressive, a real amazing young talent.
Yep.
Porsche looks quick. I think he's maybe frustrated by the pace of the Bentleys around him, that he could be a little bit quicker in chasing and harrying the leader, Molina.
Hargrove, last time he's raced here before was, I think, 2014 in open wheel. And of course, Baptista raced here a couple of years ago, but it was a GT4 Porsche for Flying Lizard.
Well, any track knowledge here is super important.
Yes.
It's just hard to learn a circuit, as we said in one of the earlier races, when it has a lot of elevation change. That adds to the challenge. Porsche's here looking a lot more competitive than we saw up in Canada.
This Porsche has always been an effective weapon here. Boy, that Ferrari, we've talked about it many times. It just doesn't seem to have much of a weak spot at any track. It's always in the hunt. And if it gets out front, it can lead comfortably, can it?
Well, Molina's laid down a lap at 140.2, which is about 6-7 tenths clear of the field right now. And doesn't set you good for tomorrow, but be surprised if we see anything like that in the later going, particularly as you seem to just lose a little bit of a percentage of grip each lap you run here.
Right now, everybody up front is running in the 140s to 142s. It'll be interesting to see when we see those start to drop relatively significantly. We know it's coming at some point, don't we?
Yeah, and let's not forget Matt Campbell had a pole lap in the 136.
Yeah.
so they're running 4 seconds off that pace right now.
You know who else had a really nice start was James Safronis.
Yes,
up
he
in the
did.
second in Pro-Am, 8th overall right now. Got around Bechtelsheimer and Imperato.
Yeah, started 10th overall on the grid, so it's a great start for James. Got his family here, as you would expect, California-based. A little battle here between the Allegra teammates, and at one point they looked like they had the dominant car here in practice. Let's move the cars towards the top of the time sheet, but you can see up ahead of him is the Pro-Am driver, Mike Hedlund. About a 1.5 second gap on these on this pair of Porsches.
Once again, I mean, this is where it's interesting to figure out here what's at play, because we really don't know what the strategy is for these. Are the Allegra boys, are they capable of much quicker speeds and are just looking to preserve tires? What did they start on? You'd think they would. I would imagine everybody would want to have started on stickers, wouldn't you?
That's a good point. I thought they had to start on their qualifying set initially, but might be free range.
Hargrove gets the power down in that Porsche so effectively.
Yeah, he really does. Just a different configuration race cars, obviously.
Yes.
The Bentley, the motor up front, Porsche pretty much in the back.
One thing we've seen is when we were up watching the Porsches, once they come over those rises, if they've made the approach right, they can pick the throttle up so much sooner with that engine right like that. Look at this move. Beautiful if it sticks. Look at that. Baptista fighting right back around the outside.
Smart driving, though. Just smart driving by Baptista. Didn't try and close the door. Recognized if I can just hang around the outside, I'll then have the inside for the carousel. Beautiful piece of racecraft there by Rodrigo Baptista.
Well, he has proven that he is just an exquisite talent, hasn't he?
Yes, he's a quiet young man, but he does, as we've said many times before, does his talking behind the wheel. And he's one of the drivers that will be competing in France for the 24-hour race next weekend. So it's a big month for a lot of these drivers here.
Here's the run into the chicane. It's so easy to overshoot. Again, this track in so many different ways is often about patience, isn't it?
Yeah, and someone who's not displaying much is Molina. He just keeps extending that gap up
does.
front.
Wow.
About 1/2 second a lap. He's 3+ seconds down the road with only 5 laps on the board.
Hedlund's still sitting in the top 5 overall, leading in Pro-Am and throwing down good laps. I mean, he's right in that mid 142 range, which is what some awfully talented pros are running right around him.
I think the key today may be in the pit stop exchange. A, does anyone do the undercut and try and pit early and get those fresh Pirelli P0s on for the co-driver? And also the pit stop minimum time is only 76 seconds, Greg. It takes you 45 seconds with the length of pit lane here, so you've got about 31 seconds to play with. That's not easy. I think we're going to struggle to see teams beating that minimum stop time. A lot of people will be way over. And that could be the difference in track position.
Well, you know, that brings up a good point for Hedlund. How much have they been able to, in this very reduced time when this all came together, to do driver change practices?
Probably not much.
Yeah.
But real time have been pretty close to the minimum. But if they can tighten that up any, they had a wheel issue at the last round in Canada that cost them quite a bit of track position. The Echo NSX does now and again seem to bind up a wheel when you're trying to do that quick change. Hargrove right back on the tail of Baptista.
And Hargrove gets through turn 11 and just gets the launch out of that corner. It's just exceptional.
car looks good.
Yes,
you
it
can
does.
just see it. I mean, you can tell from whether you see the tires outside the wheel arch or not. When he's coming off the corner, the tires are underneath the wheel arch. He's not controlling understeer or oversteer, it's just really nicely balanced.
One of the nice things, I mean, we've talked before about how aerosensitive these cars are. Well, there are parts of this track, like going back to watch this move, you can make a move like that because your speeds aren't so high that you're just massively dependent on the aero, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. So just smart driving there. I mean, Scott didn't overcommit. He just got it down to the inside. Probably felt like he had the position won. Baptista recognized it, opened up his hands a little bit, got the power earlier. And then they just ran side by side before the brake zone for the next one, and Rodrigo was on the inside.
Wide by Baptista.
He's running that big radius.
Yeah.
Just really has taken to this GT3 machinery very well. Relatively quiet start to the year last year, as you would expect, as he started to find his feet, but by mid-season he was right on pace and finished off the year with a dominant double victory at Watkins Glen. Had to put him in great shape for the off-season to build that confidence factor coming into 2019. He and his teammate currently sit third in the points.
What a great duel this is. Again, Molina just continues to throw down very consistent laps. 2, 3, 4 tenths quicker than anybody else. He's up to a 6-second lead. Things are getting a little more intense on Hedlund now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Murad got through on him, actually.
Yeah, he did. He's Hedlund's the meat in a Allegra sandwich right now.
Here's the number 24 of Hensler. Would like to be able to slide through. And then this little scrap here is Safronis now has Imperato and the number 91 Wright Motorsport Porsche starting to feel his oats a little bit here.
Anthony doesn't have a ton of racing years behind. He spoke to his dad yesterday, and just through a friend they really got introduced to the racing game, and Anthony immediately took to it. Was very impressive and tries to come up through the ranks. And he is quick. He's generally up on the wheel and a quick driver.
Well, we saw him. He made a couple of starts last year, and was in the AM category, and oftentimes, maybe one other car in the class. But just it was impressive watching how he would, come out first. Not a lot of experience in these cars. You didn't see him making silly mistakes. He would work his way up to something, and by the end of the second race in particular, he was always throwing down some very impressive laps.
Yep.
Right now we've got Molina out front, but Baptista sits in second, Suchek sits in fourth, and Ryan Marine sits with Darren Law.
Yeah, stands to be more accurate. Darren Law. Rodrigo is doing a tremendous job trying to hold off the Porsche behind him. How impressed are you? This young guy just seems to get better and better.
Rodrigo, he's the real deal. He's had an amazing climb through the ranks. He started with us in GT4, and he's showing why he should be a pro and why they moved him into the pro ranks. He's doing an unbelievable job in the car.
Talking to your drivers coming into the weekend, they maybe weren't all that confident that this racetrack would suit this race car. Were you surprised to lock down the second row in qualifying?
To be honest, yes. Some tracks play to our strengths and some don't. We knew we were going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage here, and we figured it would be a Porsche Ferrari track, which showed in qualifying. But the real thing here is going to be the degradation of the tire. This is a long race. It's hot. We're not sure how everyone's going to fare in the long run.
You anticipated my next question. Do you have a sense for how the Bentley's tire degradation compares to the rest of the GT3 field?
It's really hard to say because when we do these events, you have to carry over a tire from the previous event for practice, so you don't get a lot of runs on a fresh tire all the way through. So a lot of us ran on old tires. It's hard to say. how we compare to everybody. We know we're going to degrade, and based on the GT4 race, which we saw before this, I mean, those guys were losing 3 seconds over the course of a stint. So it really depends on setup and how well we can hang in there, and traction control and all those things that help save the tires.
Sounds like we're all going to find out together, guys.
Yes, it's going to be, it'll be interesting.
Thank you.
It's going to be fascinating. You're absolutely right. We just don't, as you said, don't really know, and you don't really know what the other guys have planned, etc. So it's a little bit of a dice roll. We saw the number 63 of David Askew sideways in turn 11, and I thought I saw some fluid down as well.
Looked like there was some smoke coming up from the front of the car, so that's a car that's been through the wars a little bit this weekend. Had an incident up through the turn 1 area yesterday where that big compression is, the big bump. Team Pirelli will get it sorted out last night, getting it back out for qualifying this morning, no problem. Hargrove's car just looks better. I think if he had the track position, he'd be not losing the amount of time to Molina that the group is currently. That little aggressive nature, I'm not putting any fault at Scott Storr, but the fact that he was going for it on that opening corner has really cost him in the long run here, because I think if he was in front of the Bentleys, he may be hanging on to the Ferrari a little bit better.
And that deficit now is 8.5 seconds. So Molina, again, every lap he's turning, it's a low 41, and everybody else is in the 42s. I mean, it's just remarkable what he's doing here. Can he maintain it? Well, that's yet to be seen, obviously. A lot of racing yet to go. But, yeah, you're right, watching, especially through the chicane there. And you would think so. I mean, the Bentley's a little bit longer wheelbase, a little bit bigger car, but that Porsche just looks a lot more nimble through there, doesn't it?
It does, and when you look at Molina, he has the pace. 6-7 tenths quicker than the rest of the field. His drop off right now is only 1 second. The rest of the field is less second and a half on that previous lap. So he's maintaining it better as well as having an advantage.
Boy, Imperato attacking on Sofronis. Just saw it at the top of the screen here as we watch Hedlund still leading in the Pro-Am category, but Hensler continues the attack as we hop on board with Wolf.
Just so impressed with Mike Hedlund this weekend.
It really is.
And he's put in some great runs in the past, but this is just top draw. He's got about a 4-second lead over Sofronis, who's the next car in line behind the man we're on board with, Hensler. So Hedlund to Sofronis for the Pro-Am lead gap is about 4 seconds.
You're talking about the guy who's the most experienced driver in the field in this category here, Sofronis.
I just love the fact he wasn't intimidated heading on the opening lap. Like, made the moves, and then Daniel tried to put a move on him. Said, I'm not taking that. Very impressed.
And behind this 24 car, the battle for that second and AM category of Imperato trying to yank it away from Sofronis remains fierce. And then Burns sits fourth. Good run for Patrick.
Yeah, he's a really nice young man. He and Guy have put together a great little team there. And bouncing around the globe a little bit, as you mentioned, Asian LMP3 champions a couple of seasons ago. Finished runner-up with the LMP2 car last year with United Autosport.
He came with Precision Performance Motorsports in the GT3 Lamborghini and ran the Portland round last year to get a taste of it, and that was a good program. But when TR3 is available, that would be always a good program. Let's check into what's unfolding down in pit lane, right?
Yes, guys, that's right. DXDT Racing's David Askew, you talked about earlier seeing a little bit of smoke. I think it was actually steam coming off of that car because it sounds like the contact caused a puncture that caused a water leak. As a consequence, they saw that the temperature was coming up. David's elected to pull the car off course and has retired. So unfortunate story there because they were pretty quick with Mike Skeen behind the wheel, and David certainly coming around as well, but not going to have the result today.
That's a real shame. And also, we are looking at our scoring monitor. We see the number 80. Of course, that is one of the cars that is an absolute factor in the Pro-Am points lead. Martin Barkey and Cal Marcelli. Marcelli fastest in one of the practice sessions. Only 3 laps in the books.
So drama there for our championship leaders in the Pro-Am class. Headland continues to hold down that 6th position overall and leading in class. Lap times, 41.7 is his best, which when you compare it to guys like Baptista, Hargrove, and Soucek battling out for podium position, it's only 3/4 of a second off. So.
I know. It really is impressive what we're seeing from Mike here.
The key to me is not so much just running the lap time, it's withstanding the pressure and not cracking.
Yes.
When you got someone like Wolfie behind you.
Or when you got somebody like Hargrove behind you. But we know Baptista is that good, but boy, Hargrove has just been relentless, hasn't he?
Yeah, and what I find fascinating is that both of these guys are super fast, but there's like a different dynamic. Baptista just looks super smooth, and you just see a sense of urgency in Hargrove's driving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both equally effective, but just watching them, it seems to be in a different way.
How much, and this is probably something I should know, but I'm going to confess and fall on the sword here, how much open wheel experience did Rodrigo have in his career? Because that's where Hargrove started, and, and you get, that's a different mentality sometimes, you know, that open wheel, it's aggression.
I think it is, and I think most of Rodrigo's comes in GT racing over in Brazil and stuff, so different background that may contribute to that somewhat.
Note to self, next time I find Rodrigo in the breakfast nook at the hotel, ask. Had a nice chat with him. That topic never came up the other morning.
He's based in Miami now for majority of his racing, competing here in the States, of course, in our championship, but really nice young man.
Yes.
Molina continues to lead up front, and this is the gap. It's big. And this will really take the pressure off the Ferry group in terms of making that pit stop.
Well, it's also big, you know, think about it. Vilander Molina come into this with a 1-point lead over Soucek and Parent, and they sit right now 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge implications here for this race and for the season, Brad.
In terms of the decision making for this group as to when to pit Miguel, so we're about 25 minutes in, so in about 15 minutes that pit window will open. I'd probably keep him out until someone else pits, and then protect yourself a little bit by coming in for the undercut and any yellow flag or something that may happen during that pit stop window. But as long as he's running laps equal to anyone else, I just keep going, because that will just minimize the length of the stint for Tony Vilander in case there's a reset at the end. The safest thing would be to come in, get everything done, but then if you're suddenly doing 50 minutes on that last set of tires and someone else stays out, and only has to do 40 minutes, that could be a big factor towards the checkered flag.
Well, I guess that, you know, what'll determine a lot of that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, certainly about the stay out until somebody else pits, but in 15 minutes, what kind of drop-off are we going to see in terms of lap times? I mean, that, you know, that's going to be part of the decision-making process for the other teams.
For sure. But I think, you know, as long as you got as big a lead as he has, they'll have a couple of laps to read that. You could just get burned if you're the first to come in, everyone else stays out, even if they're losing lap time to you. Then there's a caution and you get a reset. Suddenly your tires have been on a lot longer than everyone else's. So lots to think about when you have the lead that they have and how to play out the strategy.
Well, that's why Wright Motorsports has John Wright, K-Pax has Blam. Those guys that just can look at this stuff, and it's almost mystical in a way. I mean, it's a black art, isn't it, to figure out, do the strategizing for these races.
The other thing with the rules this year, and we haven't had a track where it's had this type of tire degradation, is the rule. Oh, Hargrove in there deep. Is that just a little mistake, or does he have an issue?
I think he just got in hot.
You crest that hill, and if you just miss it just by a blink like he did, boy, it's a big catch.
One thing I've noticed is that his turn in to 6 seems to be earlier. He really gets it down.
Just on the bump there.
Yep.
Like he's braking just right on the bump. just loosened the car up and he had to release the brakes, and then you miss your marks, and then you don't have the grip. Then it's just recovery mode for a few seconds. Getting back to my point, I was going to say, last year the leader had to be the first person to have the opportunity to pit.
Yes.
This year is just by the numbers. So when you get to 40 minutes in, it could be Soucek.
Yeah.
So these top three have to do another lap. Soucek comes in, gets the undercut, and bingo, that could be the lap that you need to suddenly leapfrog a car.
You know, it looked to me that time, too, for the first time that there was a little bit of a flat slide from that Wright Motorsports Porsche in the chicane as well. So I wonder if now we're starting to see Hargrove just starting to lose that edge on those tires more. Here's this great battle as Safronis continues to fend off Imperato.
And I'll tell you what could be a fantastic battle. Oh, did he flow speed in there?
Wow.
What could be when you look at who this top three in the Pro-Am class are going to turn over to. Headland's going to turn over Dane Cameron. Safronis is going to turn over to Doug Werner.
Yes.
Imperato's going to turn over to Matt Campbell, who laid down the lap of the day in qualifying. So that could be a big, big battle.
I believe officially from you that would be tasty.
Very.
Yes. It didn't take long for James to just sort of settle right back into this GT3 thing, huh?
No. And he said there's such a different animal. We talk about GT4 cars and the amount of downforce that they develop and yada, yada, yada. But he said a GT3 car is just a different world.
Yeah.
He just says you turn the wheel and it goes. So you just have to slow your hand speed down. You're not working the wheel as much. You're just more precise and letting the car and the aero do the work.
Imperato got a run.
Imperato, yeah. His car looks stronger this late stage of the going.
Ooh, and Wolf got through on Hensler or on Headland.
Yeah, and suddenly if Headland does back up any before that pit stop window, this could be a big, big battle between the Pro-Am runners.
You wonder if, since both Morad and Hensler are pro teams, was the real-time crew, was Nathan Bonneau and the gang saying, look, if they're forcing you to push those tires too hard, let them through.
For sure.
You know.
However.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give up too much lap time because you got this little battle going to be closing in on you.
But it's been interesting watching Imperato. Every lap through one, he's exploring a different line about where can I get speed to do something here.
Yeah, it's like he treats it like an oval, just
exactly
running a radius that gives him whatever grip is there. See if Headland can respond here, having been passed by the second of the Allegra Porsches. Can he dig deep and get some lap time? I'm sure for real time and for Dane Cameron, they'd love to have a little bit of a buffer to work with on the pit stop and the early laps of the second stint.
Yeah, he's 2.5, essentially 2.6 clear of Safronis right now. And we were talking a little bit earlier about one of the real players in the Pro-Am Championship, the Racers Edge Motorsports Acura NSX, Martin Barkey and Kyle Marcelli. And Ryan, they haven't turned a lap for a while. What's up?
And not good news, unfortunately, guys, in what has been just a great start to the season. John Meraki, the team owner, unfortunately joining me now and talking about something we'd rather not be talking about. The car is behind the wall. Tell us why.
Yeah, we early there in the race there, we had some contact. We ran into the back of another car, unfortunately, and it did enough damage. We hit hard enough that it actually broke the radiator, punctured the radiator, so we lost coolant. Then the engine got kind of hot, so we had to park it. We cannot fix it for the duration of this race, so we're out of the race. But we can fix it for tomorrow. We'll be out tomorrow.
And the good news is the car has been fast all year. It was fast in the practice sessions. What's your level of confidence going into race 2?
Oh, I think the car will be as good as it was. I don't think we'll lose anything with the repairs. So we just have to do the repairs and come out with the same car we had and do our job, and hopefully we'll stay out of trouble tomorrow.
It's up break today. Thank you.
Thank you.
They came in here with a 23-point lead in the championship, so they have a little bit that they can give back, but you don't want to.
No, and to score points, you have to do 75% of the race distance. They're not going to get that, so
nothing.
it's going to be a 0-point score, and it's only the top 10 that gets points anyway. So there's Carl Marcelli. He'll be frustrated to not see action, as will Mike Skeen, who was supposed to co-drive with David Askew today. So
yeah,
two of the top pilots in the paddock not seeing any race action.
some traffic here. Safrona's working by the number 99 of Alfred Caiola, one of the 111 team Ferraris, getting through clean. And I was going to say, and you look at that in terms of points for Barkey and Marcelli right now, their best friends are Hedlund, Safronas, Byrne,
Yeah.
everybody who are not full season competitors, and a lot of them are running well up in those points.
Yeah, because second in points is Bechtelsheimer, so he's run 5th right now. Co-driving with Mark Miller once again this weekend. Had that great victory at CTMP. So Hedlund had responded, ran faster laps than these two Porsches on the last lap. So after getting passed by a couple of pro Porsches, he's responded to the attack from these two.
We're kind of keeping an eye on what Hargrove's been doing. I was wondering if maybe the silver lining to that moment and him dropping back of Baptista was getting a little cleaner air on the nose and being able to maybe preserve those fronts a little bit better as we finally get a look again at Miguel Molina. It's the one downside when you have such a dominant run like this. We don't see a lot of it.
That's right.
And but what a run he is doing in this Ferrari of Toronto, Alberta, and Ontario Zeckelman Industries machine.
I'm not sure he'd tell us, but I just wonder whether he knew Hargrove was to the right or whether he just intended to take that wide line on the opening corner, because
Yeah.
he definitely didn't give Scott a lot of room there, and I'm sure Scott will not be super happy about that if he decides
Right.
it was option B.
Yeah. Thought I just saw a little wiggle from the number 3 of Baptista in a spot you don't see it real often, and that's the 7A run up into turn 8.
Suchek there has dropped a little bit of ground. Not sure if he had a slight off there.
And behind him, here comes Murad and Hensler. I'll tell you, Daniel was in his element at CTMP. He had a bunch of friends there, and there's this almost cult following of his that's developed up there. And one of them, they had a van that they had painted up in the Allegra colors, that they had chairs up on the roof. It was just hilarious, the whole program. They had pictures of it, and he was enjoying it. And I think he's good for him. He's just, because for a while there for Daniel, it looked like maybe his racing wasn't going to continue.
Right.
And he rebounded and has proven to be as quick as he ever was. And it's nice to see. Even has his own line of hats.
Yeah, and they're pretty cool stuff.
They are. Muradness. James.
Big understeer there from Safronis on turn in for 4.
So we're, 5 minutes away from that pit window opening.
Brad Kettler working with the group again this weekend, engineering this car. He said it's a really neat piece. Really impressed with working with this GT3 Porsche. Brad, so much success with Audi over the years, running with the champion racing team, and then firmly ensconced in the Audi Sport team with so much success at Le Mans over the years at the prototype level.
Yeah, Brad is a very impressive gent, and anybody who's got him in their paddock is a very fortunate team. And one of the things with this GT3R, the new generation of the car, with one of the big things, I was talking to John Wright early in the season, he said it's the first 911 platform car with an actual, way wide.
Yeah, Safronis really struggling to get the car turned in right now, so if he's had an understeer imbalance, he may started to have literally grind those off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's almost like a pencil eraser where you just kind of get those little, if you're rubbing across a piece of paper, just rubbing out some pencil, you just get those little balls of rubber that starts to develop off the tire.
And all you can do at that stage is actually slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the only option you have.
It's just a percent. I mean, you just got to back it down. You hit the nail on the head, Greg. You just got to slow down a little bit. You just can't attack as much. You can't ask the tire to do as much any longer. So just back it all down. Just lead it into the corner a little bit earlier and softer.
Learn that in driver's school. Where they
Tony
say
Vilander ready to go. I love Tony.
He's
so passionate.
Yeah, animated,
He's
passionate.
fired up, ready to go. But I really believe, I mean, it looks like they're geared up for anything because you're
Right.
only a few minutes away, but I don't think they should be the first to pit. I think they need to wait and just see what else develops for a lap at least, and then go from there.
I agree. I mean, as long as he's running quicker than everybody behind him, right?
Yeah.
Why would you pit?
You know, unless this car has just got such good restrictions on the tire degradation
Yes.
compared to everyone else, but they look like they're gearing up and ready to go.
Margin now almost 13 seconds from Molina to Baptista.
Yeah.
Hargrove 0.003 behind Baptista last time by.
That's close.
The gift of understatement. Yeah. Of course, the other thing that plays into your decision making is traffic, but that was Milstein in the number 38, and let Molina slide through. Didn't affect him at all. Milstein in the K2R Motorsports Blue Water Performance Group Porsche.
So I think for Molina, it's going to be finish this lap, and the next lap he could probably come in. Should be within the window at that point.
Hargrove slips
Oh,
through.
he has. He's got through.
Yeah.
Got by Baptista, now got traffic up between him. So this is going to be key for Hargrove. Really get the hammer down.
Yeah, I didn't see where he made that pass. Ooh, Bechtelsheimer, big wiggle, chasing Byrne here through turn 7.
Great job by Byrne. This is really a nice run for
Yeah.
that team. Talking to Guy Cosmo, super impressed with the TR3 group. Led by Gregory Romanelli. Good group of guys there, a lot of experience. Okay, pit stop window should be open for all the leaders next time. So you see the clock winding down at that 50-minute to go mark, 40 minutes in.
Nice job there by Henry Schmidt, the 87 Cameron Racing BMW. When that traffic came up, he did everything he could to not hold anybody up in this queue coming through, and didn't really affect things too much at all. And at the same time, didn't do that, let me help you through and go right where I wanted to pass you.
Yeah.
Either. It was very heads up by Henry.
You can see the way that Hargrove has taken off. I really feel that opening corner has really set up this race a little bit, both for Molina and Alfieri, and also for Hargrove and Wright Motorsports in terms of what the gap would have been, and totally different dynamic now. It's tough to pass around here with savvy race car drivers who are not making mistakes like Baptista.
Yes. Well, and Hargrove just ran a lap almost identical to Molina on that last lap. It shows you the speed that he confirms exactly what you were saying.
Second clear of the Bentleys.
Yep.
I would think we'll see one of these Bentleys dive in.
Here comes Milstein, and you're right, Baptista's in. Looked like Suchek stayed out.
Yeah, Molina stayed out too, so this will be the key for Soulé, who gets the first shot at some fresh Pirelli's P0s.
You said it's 73?
76 seconds.
76 seconds.
Yeah. And that's not easy to achieve. It only gives you about 31 seconds to get everything done. There was a bit of a miscalculation initially. They thought it was about 41 seconds to reverse down pit lane. It's actually about 45, so, but they didn't adjust the minimum stop time, so that just puts more and more pressure on the crew. Or if you can execute a great one, really gives you the advantage. Soule in there, ready to go. Right-hand drive Bentley, of course.
These guys have been absolutely brilliant at the stop that Capex has all year long.
They have had that one little flare up,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Catch there with just amazing how tiny little things can go wrong. Just the tire caught hot rubber on the door.
And that pit stall they have where you can see how close they were to the end of it. That was one of the things that they were addressing in a lot of the driver meetings was they said, you've got to be very, very careful because there's virtually nothing from when you release this. Molina's in.
Yeah, you had to respond.
Yes.
I think this is the perfect way to play it. They could have been in and they elected to wait that one lap. It had been a lot tighter. We didn't see where Molina was on the racetrack when that window opened, but I think he was good to come in the previous lap, but they waited for one of the other leaders to come in.
This is going to be fascinating to see. Now, of course, they had a sizable margin.
Typically tell how quick the stop is by if there's any delay in releasing the car.
Yes.
Bottom of the gun. Bottom of the gun. He had on the wrong way initially, so he was flanking it, which makes it even harder to get off. Just adding a little bit of tightness to that.
They're struggling. Something's not right with that gun.
Yeah, this is not going to be a clean one. I'd imagine once they've finished this tire stop, they'll just send him. This hasn't been their forte.
No, it hasn't. Uh-oh. Something wrong here.
What happened there? There's a little sequencing that all of the teams do a little bit differently. Something went amiss on the Hargrove stop.
125. That's way long here for Molina.
Yeah, that's 9 seconds outside of the minimum, so. This should put Soule way closer to Vilander than he had any right to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other side of the coin is how far back will Long be now, because that stop was not clean.
Yeah. There you see it. So Soule has the track position on Parent, and he has hot tires. So that undercut work there just between the two Bentleys even.
Yes.
And there you can see he's closer to Vilander than his teammate was. Not getting all of the information on our timing screen, unfortunately, on this pit stop sequence to give you the full insight.
All right, here we go. The Allegra team is in. Morad turning over to Michael De Quesada.
This tire stop is than the Alfari one.
Yeah, or the 58. That was the one that surprised me, because at one point they had that no tire on the right front while they were working on the right. It was just strange. Almost as if maybe a wrong tire had been grabbed. And they dropped and went right away, Cal, so that had to be tight too.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't much margin, period. I mean,
no.
It was almost a time where if you did the perfect stop, you go.
Yeah.
So, Soule now hitting a little bit of traffic, unfortunately. That takes away the opportunity to go chase down Vilander. His tire's a little bit harder, but there you can see it. Look at that. Yeah. There's about a 13-second gap.
Wow.
That Molina had. So that snafu on the pit stop really cost a considerable margin. there'll be a little bit of frustration flaring up on the radio with Tony Wieland. He's never wanted to be shy about his feelings. Neil would have known that there was a delay going on with those tire changes.
Well, that's a good point. It's a tough day on the radio. An aggressive move there by Parent to get through. He knew he was losing too much time.
Second in the championship chase coming into this round. 1 point behind that Ferrari that's leading. Baptiste and Soulé run second on the road, third in the points.
Looking for that margin now. Wielander back to Soulé. You can see it right there. I mean, that stop cost the Ferrari team huge. And one of the big keys on that, Callis, it's going to obviously give them. They had a huge margin to be able to baby tires as well if they needed to, and that's gone.
Yep. Changes. You can have the perfect race going on the racetrack. You get the pit stop wrong, that changes everything. That can be very, very frustrating for the driver to manage that.
Yep.
Keep under control. It's like, hey guys, how did we get ourselves in this situation?
On board here with Guy Cosmo, and we've been speculating on what the issue might have been. Clearly there was one in the Wright Motorsport 58 stop. Ryan, what are you hearing?
Evidently, the team had placed the wrong tire out for the right rear, and they actually had to go and get the correct one mid-stop. So that should explain the delay there. As for the Ferrari car, the problem they believe was that the air gun was not off of the correct setting, kind of like Calvin was guessing, just not all the way to reverse, just not all the way to forward. So it just wasn't giving the full strength, and that's what took so long getting the tires off of the Ferrari earlier.
All right, thanks very much, Ryan. And yeah, costly for both of them here. As Wielander now has a 3-second lead only to Soulé, and the number 58 Long comes out, and he's back in 7th.
Yeah, he's fallen behind Dane Cameron, even, who assumes the lead in the Pro-Am category after a brilliant stint by his co-driver, Mike Henland. Mega job here today, mate. That was really, really cool.
Truly. Very impressive. Going to be interesting now, though, to see, isn't it, as you pointed out, Campbell's now in the 91, Werner is in the 14. We've seen the speed that they've been able to put down here, particularly Campbell.
Big laps going down, too.
Yep.
Fresh rubber on these cars. Everyone dipping into the high 39s, low 40 range. Werner just laid fastest lap of the race down at a 39.70. So he assumes that third position. So Campbell is around the 14 car. Both of those Porsches got to try and chase down Dane Cameron in the Acura NSX, but he's laid down a 40 flat. So the pace is there early in the going for that car right now. Spoke to Dane after his qualifying session, very disappointed with the balance of the race car, just said he had nothing to work with. See if they tweaked on it a little bit. Certainly Hedlund did a great job as we now look at Dane here down into the chicane. Key's going to be what's it like on the long run. Hedlund certainly maintained his pace very well. This is Cameron behind De Quesada.
Looked like De Quesada maybe ran a little wide in the chicane there. Getting a nice run out of 11.
This is where it gets tricky when you're leading your own class, but you've got an overall car right in front of you.
But you also know you've got some very fast guys in your class behind you. So
yeah, that ramps up the intensity and the desire to get by him.
He'd like to slide through and get that little bit of a buffer. Whoa, and a big ride there by De Quesada.
Well, he took a lot of speed in because he gapped Cameron through 3, but he needed more room on the exit to run that speed.
That was fantastic. As we ride on board now with Dane Cameron, the guy that put that car up into the lead of the class, is with Ryan. What a day, Ryan.
Yeah, Mike Hedlund, the guys in the booth are just raving about your stint in the car, and well deserved. Did you miss this stuff?
I did a lot. Once the green flag dropped, it's like all automatic. You're just fighting and hustling, and once we spread out a bit, I didn't want to get in the way of Wolf. I tried to stay in front, but he and the other pro Porsche were just too quick, so I kind of made it easy for him to get by, so I didn't ruin their race. And I just pushed as hard as I could.
That was awesome to see. A really good stint. How good is the car now for Dane?
It's really good. Balance is nice. I think the track grip is low, but it's the same for everyone. So you just got to save the tires till the last 15 minutes.
So is your appetite up to the point where you want to do more of these races now? It's been too long since we've seen you.
I always want to do more, but work calls, so can only do what I can do.
Understood. Well, good work today. We'll see you tomorrow, and maybe we'll see you in Victory Lane.
Cool. Thank you.
It's Mike Hedlund.
Yeah, once again, just as you said, Cal, just a superb run by Mike, coming in as a fill-in and ending up being a standout.
Great point. Just never put a foot wrong. Immediately on pace. Great qualifying run. Great opening lap. Withstood the pressure. Made the right decisions. Turned over a strong race car. Everyone likes something a little bit different. So the question is going to be if the balance of the race car is to Dane's taste.
Yes.
Now he's got a healthy margin. There's a good pit stop by the real-time guys here today. And after the pit stop exchange, I mean, Hedlund had about a 3-second gap over Imperato and Sofronis. And right now that gap between Cameron and Campbell is about 12 seconds. So that's a big, big change right there.
Absolutely.
That should allow Dane to just manage this. He doesn't have to chase down De Quesada. He can just sit here and run his laps.
It's been an eventful year for the real-time team since they started this program up. You know, the first race, everything fine that they came in, missed the opener, come in for the next one. Next one, halfway through, they go from Pro-Am to Pro because Curtis has a back issue. Here they bring in a guy who just puts on a superb performance. It's all of those slings and arrows of outrageous racing fortune here as we watch Souley and Parent. Souley's got to be happy. Obviously, with Vielander out front, they're going to lose with that team having come in the lead, even just by 1 point. But they're going to take some back from
the 9 car.
The 9 car, and that's got to be sweet if he can hang on to it.
Yeah, and it just seems like the Ferrari is in a league of its own, really.
Yep.
Other than, I don't know where Campbell got that lap from this morning. Because outside of that, you just said Ferrari have dominated this weekend.
Yeah.
Alina put it on the pole, run off into the distance. Bad pit stop, Vielander in front, now lays down fastest lap of this race by a fair chunk. And then Vielander would have been on the pole for the next race other than Matt Campbell's mega lap.
Yeah, no, without doubt. I mean, it was just a mega lap. I don't know how else to put it. It was jaw-dropping, especially as you said, that first sector, and it was just immense. And the thing for watching what Tony's doing right now, best lap, but also he's been able to crack off a few 139s. Closest we've seen is Parent at a 40.1.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and I just love watching the dynamic and the land. I mean, Vielander is just so intense, just such a unique character, speaks his mind, but I think people respond to that. You know what I mean? I think, I love what he brings to that team and the chemistry. Molina's a lot softer spoken. I think he's more prepared to take the back seat.
Got a bunch of fluid coming out of the back of the number 31 Ferrari.
Not so much about Cameron being prepared to wait on De Quesada.
Yeah.
I'll have some of that. Big race for Dane. His dad and mom still live just down the road, so home race for him.
Yep.
His uncle Steve Cameron competes in this championship as well, and it's home race for them, so this is nice. Got his family out here. It's been a busy racing season, campaigning in 2 different championships. Looking for his 4th win in about 6 weeks.
Doing pretty well. Yeah, that's a real shame for the 31, the TR3 Cosmo. We had that shot, and you can just see the fluid coming off of the back of that car. They actually had a really impressive run for coming in mid-season and first time in that program. And looking at the back of these guys, Cameron Long looks like he's, Long just threw down a 39.7. So he's good with the program here, Cal. Look at Campbell, a 39.9 as well.
Yeah. Well, we wonder where that lap of Campbell came from. He's actually laid down his best is a 39.5, which is only a 10th off of Vilander. So that kid is the real deal.
Yes, he is.
And I think we keep harping on about his qualifying lap, but I think he's just one of those young guys who's really give it total commitment. Fresh sticker run, low fuel, no one had really experienced that, and he just put it all down there and it stuck.
Yeah.
And he grabbed it with both hands.
We often joke about it and say, hey, they're young, they don't know any better. But he knows plenty. He's just that good. Yeah, it's impressive.
This team lost the final practice session yesterday due to a clutch issue. So that didn't help them work on the setup a little bit.
Dean just put down the best lap of the day for that car, 39.9.
Oh, you see, that's how this set up. De Quesada, just a big mistake there. Want to give it to him, and Dane's got the run.
And De Quesada's got dirty tires here, right? Yeah, once he's through, he's able to.
Almost up to 2-second gap on De Quesada.
Rock it off a little bit here.
Pat Long further 2 seconds behind that.
Then Campbell and Werner. Mark Miller doing another nice job. He and Till are a pretty good pairing, aren't they?
They really are.
Yeah.
I think Mark does a great job in the coaching aspect with Till Bechtelsheimer. Till is very understated, really nice guy, now based in the New York area, Brit.
And that Gradient Racing team, again, De Quesada just a little bit hot into the chicane.
That's allowed Pat to close up even further. So yeah, he's just missing his marks there a little bit. The car's not able to give him the grip that he's demanding from it by braking so late.
Pat just so tidy, isn't he?
Well, it looks tidy from the outside, but when we rode along for the Porsche track preview, it certainly didn't look tidy. It's arms and elbows in a busy racetrack.
Oof. There's the 31 in.
Yeah, fluid was coming from that car.
That is a shame.
Here the
yeah, look at this.
Yeah, he was dropping fluid.
He's getting a face full of it here. Yeah. 04. Colin Brown trying to slide through. We were just laying out there because I think that was Guy Cosmo who was explaining to somebody what was going on. He's talking about a low battery warning. He said that generally means it just threw a belt or something, and if it's a belt that also drives cooling,
yeah,
there you go. Into our final half hour of this 90-minute 7th round of the championship for the Blancpain GT World Challenge America. Look there at the number 9 of Alvaro Parent.
Lander's not taken off from these guys too far. Cam's still around 4 seconds, but again, he's smart. He may be feisty, but he's very smart. He won't want to be burning off the tires on that Ferrari in case there's a reset at the end here. You'd have to think that Perrin is playing the same game, just sitting back enough where he's not losing the aero or generating any understeer, picking up the wash from that teammate's Bentley in front of him. Just hoping that there's an opportunity that comes back to him later in the going. A long way to go yet, 28 minutes still on the board.
You bet. Preservation is key here. Unfortunately, not going to see that unfold for the number 31 TR3 Ferrari. Ryan, we were overhearing a little bit of Guy talking. Fill us in.
Let's get the details from Guy Cosmo. It had been such a great story this weekend. You guys back in the series, showing a great pace with TR3. Unfortunately, we're talking to you and the race is still going on. What happened, Guy?
Yeah, right after I left pit lane, I had no radio communication with the guys. I figured, okay, obviously I'm aware. I'll look at the flaggers. I'll figure this out. There's no other pit stops to do. So, but very shortly after that, lap 2 or 3 that I was out there, I was getting a low battery voltage warning. Typically that means you've slung a belt or something's wrong with the alternator. I was thinking the guys could still hear me, and I was asking for a pit board if they needed me to pit. Again, not being familiar with the 488, I'm not sure what all the procedures should be in regards to how detrimental that is if we lose the belt or something. So it just started to lose power, and it was getting slower and slower. I started to be able to smell a little bit of smoke and some coolant, so I figured I need to get this car in. I don't know how bad it is, but I don't think it's good.
Is tomorrow in jeopardy, or is that too soon to say?
I think with these guys, nothing's in jeopardy. They have the will to get through anything, and so do we. So I just feel terrible. Patrick had a great run. He had a solid race. He was doing a great job. I was looking forward to getting in, but immediately I felt like something was wrong, and then I saw that warning. So we'll get back at it again tomorrow if we can, hopefully, and we'll go back and assess.
As I said, yeah, it's great to have you in the championship. Best of luck. Hopefully see you back out on track tomorrow.
Get that Torxen car out there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's true. Patrick had done a very nice job.
Super run.
Yep, very impressive. And there's the number 38 in as well, the K2R Motorsports entry. Alex Barron teamed up with Kevin Milstein. Of course, Alex, a lot of, and I was announcing the Atlantic Championship when he was coming up through that with Lynx Racing, and he was just a rocket ship.
He was.
Yeah,
Does a lot of coaching now, works with this team quite a bit, so it's a good opportunity for him.
Yeah. Here is Tony Vilander. Just keeping that margin. It's right about that 4.4 seconds, 4.5 second range here for a few laps here now.
Yep. Running lap times about 2 seconds off his best. As I say that, he does one about a second off his best. Still plenty in the tank, it seems.
So there, number 99, that is the 111 Ferrari in the hands of Matt Plum. They had a really good run at VIR, showing a lot of speed. In fact, Matt was showing some really good speed in the practice sessions and the like as well. Unfortunately, the car just a little bit too far down for him to be able to fight for it right now. So look at Marco Holzer.
Had a good run.
Yeah,
I remember Hensler was running behind the sister Allegra car and Headland early in the going. Then he started to make some moves. They obviously had a very good pit stop. Got Holzer out in front of Cameron. Cameron's about 2.5 seconds back. Take a look here at Mark Miller having a little run off the road.
Just overshooting that chicane. He's in good company. It does happen. But, one of the things about this, the 24 Allegra car, there was that moment certainly in Circuit of the Americas when the two cars came together, and this one ended up out, and that didn't help things, but they've quietly worked their way up. I mean, coming in here in the points, the only Porsche in front of them was the 58.
Yeah. It's a good drive appearing. Good to see Marco back in the game. Kind of fell off the radar a little bit a couple of years ago, but Wolfie, longtime Porsche factory pilot, and just a great asset for any team. So much experience. Really jumped onto the American radar in World Challenge competition with Horst Farnbacher racing, I think, was back in the mid-90s.
Yeah, absolutely. One of those races was right here, where he showed up on the radar and was one of his first appearance in the championship, and everybody went, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
And didn't take long to find out. He's just turned into one of the best. And an impish sense of humor.
Yes. Just don't give him the microphone.
Yeah, yes. Very true. There's Dane, orange and white machine. Right behind this number 24 of Holzer. Dane continuing to lead in the Pro-Am category, and pretty comfortable margin at this stage back to Campbell, who runs second. About 12 seconds he's got in hand.
Curious to see if Cameron pushes to try and get this position from Holzer. Starting to make some inroads into that gap. About 6/10 quicker than Marco on that last lap. Again, 43 car leads the Pro-Am division. This is a good run for this team. Seems like they've really made some strides even from qualifying this morning. The pace is better. The consistency is better. Cameron's best lap at 39.90, just laid a 40.0 down on that last lap, so it's maintaining the pace so far through the stint, which is only halfway through. Seems to be working very well.
Yes, it does.
Turns in, minimum wait time, and then hard on the power without detecting any wheel slip coming off.
Boy, that's a wicked bump, isn't it?
Yep. Still isn't hitting like we heard Kurt say qualifying this morning. That was slapping the ground with his Mercedes AMG with a crowd strike entry. Cameron takes another half second out of that gap to Holzer. The elevation change. See how patient you have to be mid-corner there.
Now the elevation change, but also the blind entry. And I mean, you don't even see the rear deck of that Porsche when you turn in. You know, I mean, it's it's commitment. You better be in the right spot.
Yeah. 3 is even more amazing. That was the one that really got my attention.
Is that right?
Yeah. See what the gap is developing here.
Boy, he's closing it up in a hurry.
Yeah, he is. And be curious to see how defensive Holzer is and how aggressive Cameron is. I mean, they're both born racers, do you know what I mean? So they want every position they can, but you still got to think about the big picture. And
you don't want to throw away a Pro-Am.
yeah, because if you look back, Cameron's gap all the way back to Campbell remains about 12 seconds or so, so that gap has stayed pretty consistent. So he's under no threat for the class victory at this point in time.
For the longest time, that margin Vilander to Soule was in that 4 to 4.5 second range. It's up to 6 now.
Yeah. I think for the Bentleys, they realize they're not going to run down Tony Vilander at this stage of the race. Their only hope is to just be super protective of those tires, hope for a reset, and then have stronger rubber at the end.
Yeah, okay.
Key is going to be can Perrin do anything with his teammate in terms of playing that same game over the sister Bentley.
That margin is at 1.6 seconds right now. We're into the final 20 minutes. At what point then does Prince say, all right, I'm going? You know, that's the thing.
I think you wait another 10. I think you wait with 10 to go. I mean, there's always a risk you get a yellow or something. You don't finish the race under green, but I think you just can't afford to go too early.
So Campbell continues to run second in AM in the 91 Wright Motorsports Porsche, 8th overall to Cameron's 5th overall in the leading Acura. Werner, 3rd in the number 14 entry is Dirk Werner, so that's your top 3 in the AM category. And as we're riding on board here with Marco Holzer, Ryan has found teammate and starting driver Wolf Hessler.
Yeah, so we're seeing Marco come under a little bit of pressure here as this stint goes along. You were in the car earlier. Can you give the viewer at home a sense for just how difficult this track is as the tire wear progresses?
I mean, the track is very physical, and the driver has to work a lot. The straights are not very long where we can relax all the time. We are doing something, and It's pretty hot today. I'm hearing tomorrow it's getting even more, so I'm not looking forward to it. But I mean, we're fighting a lot with the car. I guess everybody is sliding around, and it's a lot of work today. And I was lucky when they called me in and put Marco in the car. And Marco now is getting a little bit pressure from the Acura. And I think it's about 20 minutes left, and I think it will be a very exciting finish for Marco.
With the heat coming tomorrow, your fitness will be put to the test, but I know you're ready for it. I saw you running around this track yesterday, which I believe you do at all of our tracks, right?
Yeah, I did maybe more laps running than I drove today, this week. Now, usually, Marco and I, we always go running on the track, and almost every day, every night, and it's good. I mean, we always look at curbs or at some points, and we always learn something.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
A track run.
Yeah.
Anything that, as you said, anything that gives you information is.
I used to do a track dawdle.
This is getting. He said he thought it was going to be an interesting finish for Marco, and there's a few reasons for that, isn't there?
Yeah, because first of all, Cameron's got a quick Acura underneath him. Just saw first signs of that giving up a little bit under acceleration off of turn 11. But even though Dane Cameron's in a different class running in the Pro-Am division this weekend, the points for Holzer are scored based on overall. So if he loses a position, he's losing points. So he will get defensive here. For Cameron, not so much.
Yes.
They're not in it for the long haul anyway. And yeah, he switched around between classes after the issue at CTMP with Brett Curtis, where he twinged a nerve in his back and couldn't make race 2. So then Dane had to switch to Pro with Trent Hinman, and they did a great job finishing up in the top 5 with Trent starting at the back of the grid. But even so, I mean, Cameron's not got any championships on his mind. He's just thinking about victories in this series.
Yes, absolutely. As you said, for Holzer, that's a little different scenario for him in terms of points. Oh, well, look at this. Campbell and Werner have now both gone around De Quesada. So Campbell now up into 7th overall, Werner 8th overall. That's 2nd and 3rd in Pro-Am. Still a fair amount back from Dane. There's not a big issue there. 4th in Pro-Am right now remains Miller, who with Bechtolsheimer are in the number 5 Gradient Racing Acura, and rounding out the top 5 in Pro-Am is the 04.
It's a good battle right here.
Oh, man,
Campbell
look at
and
this.
Werner.
Coming up on the back of Fuentes.
Porsche young professional going up against a Porsche older professional.
Yeah. And Fuentes, of course, running in the AM category, the AM with his teammate Baccarella.
I read a stat that where they've won 12 of the last 13 races or something.
Yeah, just stunning run. We need to give a little bit of a shout out. Andy Lally now behind the wheel, the number 19 111 Ferrari, and right there 6th in the Pro-Am category, not too far adrift.
Hard to believe it's taken Andy this long to
do a
race a Ferrari.
I know. I'm sure he's tested them and coached them, but he just hasn't raced one.
Good battle right now.
That is. Campbell and Werner. Weren't they teammates? They won Bathurst together, didn't they? Because it was Campbell, Werner, and Bolson.
Yep.
Yeah.
And running for Earl Bamber Motorsports.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Earl Bamber, what a success story.
On every level.
Yeah, so much success in the GT and GT Le Mans ranks, goes to Le Mans, wins overall with Tandy and Nico Hulkenberg. And they said, I'll start a race team. I'll just go out and win your first one at Bathurst.
Yeah, in 2 months, wasn't it? It was something absurd when they decided to start it.
Yeah.
And to this day, I have to say, I think the graphics package on the Earl Bamber Motorsports car was one of the sharpest I have ever seen on any race car ever. That New Zealand fern along the big fender flares in the back. It was just as if it was meant to be.
Well, these two Porsches have run lap times, fast laps, both up 30. We talk about the pace of the Ferrari, fast lap of the race. So 1:39.43 for Vilander. Campbell's run a 139.52 and Werner a 139.57. So they had pace.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, because they both, the last laps where they both of them ran 143s, and I thought, well, is that they're really falling up, and now they both cracked 140s.
Yep.
So that was traffic induced, obviously.
Cameron's hit a bit of a wall, not literally behind Holzer. He's now lost his pace a little bit as he's picking up the aero wash with that Porsche.
Interesting that, yeah, the two fastest cars in the track right now are Campbell and Werner.
They're looking at them.
Yep.
GMG car looks superb.
Doesn't it? Just... It's really sharp.
Werner had a lot of success here in America, running Porsches, winning championships. Then BMW went hunting and took him under their wing, and then he made a big move 3 years ago, switching back to the Porsche brand again. Here comes Perrin, a little bit closer on his teammate. He's got about 10 minutes to go if he's got anything left in the bag.
Yep.
Time to bring it. Want to be, I mean, you can't afford to take any risk. I mean,
right.
Teammates hitting each other and jeopardizing a strong podium result is not the way to go. But having said that, you know that Brent will want to be there in case Soule comes up on traffic and he can take advantage of the situation.
Nice job there. The Ferrari down lap, drifting over and letting Dane have the line. It's Holzer up front. That's the margin. As you said, it's just completely stabilized, really, hasn't it?
I think you just get on a charge and you get to the point you just start to pick up the aero, and as soon as you start to overwork or create an imbalance in the race car, it's just going to work more and more on that tire deck. It's still a big day. I mean, this was a car and a team that really didn't know who was going to be driving it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So to come here and be in with a shot of grabbing another class win is a superb testimony to the job that Petey Cunningham and his whole group do at real time.
Yeah, Nathan Bonneau and that team they really gave them a car. And clearly gave them a car, you know, Mike Hedlund a car that he was comfortable in and could really do something with it, and just that whole wide there.
Yeah, you can see the twitch there under braking. He's just starting to ask for something that doesn't want to give him anymore. One of the big areas of concern talking to the group is that they can't get the same balance between the high-speed stuff and the low-speed. So be struggling getting the front splitter set for the high-speed corners and maintaining the front grip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then looking for traction coming off. So sometimes, even though it's low and high-speed corners, different problems. One affects the other in terms of the changes you make to the race car.
10 to go. Vilander, that margin now just consistently hovering in the low 6+ second range.
This has been a great day for these guys. The only blip so far has been that Vilander doesn't have pole for tomorrow. But front row is not a bad starting point either.
Yeah, not at all.
You know, and let's not forget, and no disrespect to Anthony Imperato, but you would have to think as long as Vilander can keep it close to Matt Campbell, that Molina should have a little bit more pace than Anthony to get the win, if that's what it comes down to. Busy time for Tony Vilander. I think he's on about a 10-week straight trip between two different racing championships, plus running the 24-hour Le Mans test day last week, plus he does Formula One broadcasting duties for Finnish TV. So when he's not racing, he's behind a microphone. It was at Monaco a couple of weeks ago.
Which I find ironic, because I could have sworn maybe a year or two ago, he was talking about, boy, I need to cut back a little bit.
Oh, I spoke to him at the banquet at the end of last year, and I said, what's up for next year? He said, I got to cut back. You know, young kids, got to spend time at home. Can't do a dual program. Next thing I know, I see the announcement, and it's just not having a breather. I mean, Tony's a pro, and he's been doing it for a long time. It's not having that time to just recharge the batteries. It's not just the driving. In this business, it's the travel that really takes its toll as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Little wiggle there. Werner is attacking.
You know, the ego, I don't mean in a bad way, but the pride, let's put it that way, of young Matt Campbell is not going to want to give up this track position to Dirk Werner. And vice versa. Werner doesn't want the young hot shoe showing him the way home.
And especially when they're essentially teammates in the Intercontinental GT Challenge, you know, it makes for you want to have that that little bit of leverage during dinner, don't you?
Yes. I'll tell you what, though, GMG car looks hooked up.
It does.
Cronus was strong, and Dirk's car looks really quick through turn 7.
Yes, it does.
See Campbell there just protecting a little bit, and he misses his turn-in point slightly. He's slow through this chicane.
Did, yes.
Going to give Dirk Werner the run. How aggressive does he get in defending down here into the brake zone?
I think Dirk was so close, he had to give it up just a little bit.
So hard to time that. You would think, okay, I can just take that wider approach, but just to time it and get it right is a real art, and it's very difficult to do because you're still somewhat reliant on the person in front of you getting out of the way before you can fully commit to power.
Brent, by the way, the last lap running 3/10 quicker than Soule, but margin still 7/10 of a second.
Yeah.
So we've got a similar scenario here in both categories. Wielander with a comfortable lead over Soule and Parent, and Cameron with a comfortable lead over Campbell and Werner. So the battle for the second place, the order on the podium for the second steps, that's what's under contest here.
Parent hounding. He's looking.
Yes, he is.
We've really seen any issues between the Capex teammates over the years, have we?
Not really. Not really. You know, something I wanted to mention here is you mentioned, speaking of teammates, at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Alvaro's win has tied him with Randy Popes as the winningest driver in Capex history with 14 wins apiece.
Wow.
So his next win, he will become the winningest Capex driver. So it's a pretty stout achievement.
Yeah, very much so.
Randy was the benchmark in World Challenge for a lot of years, no question.
You could say the same that Parent is now. So
yes.
A huge success rate over the last handful of years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You beat Alvaro in a straight fight. That is a big, big accomplishment.
I agree. And the guy that might just be able is named Soule. He's a Bentley factory boy.
Yep.
For a reason. He's good.
He's really good. They got a really strong lineup. I mean, I think it's very well suited. I mean, Soucek and Alvaro know each other quite well. And I think Soule's been a great guiding. Not that Baptista needs a lot of guidance. He's just an immense talent, but I think just that little bit more experience in that car really helps Rodrigo as well.
Yes, yeah. Well, you know, Parent is Portuguese and Soucek is Spanish. They're neighbors essentially, and you know, Baptista and Soule, Brazil, Belgium, will start with B. I don't know.
There you go. I love it. Go with that.
Go with that. Oh. All right, into the final 4 minutes here.
Okay, Alvaro, let's go.
Yep, see what the margin is. That's down to 6.5 here. Wielander's just in management mode right now, I'm sure. Ooh, I think Alvaro is going.
Yeah.
He's throwing it at it right now. Same story, Werner and Campbell. There they are at the bottom of the screen. That's how close this battle remains for second in Pro-Am. That scenario we're talking about, too, is in each case it's identical cars, essentially, battling for this second spot, so...
Which may minimize the potential argy-bargy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're going to be going for it, but respectful at the same time.
Three minutes to go.
We'll see that say. We talked about earlier in the race the different language of the car between Baptista, admittedly, and a Bentley and Hargrove in the Porsche. But I also see it here where Werner just looks that little bit smoother, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The Campbell car just looks edgier, just in what he's doing with it.
Well, and just watching there in the turn 6 in the carousel, it looks like Campbell now is just struggling to get that car to stay tight to the apex. It's moving a little bit more in the chicane. And traffic.
That's the key. That's where you got to keep the pressure on. Same for Perent and Soule. Just be close enough in case there's a bobble or a big lift that your man in front has to do. You can just whistle by.
Yes. Coming up in the back of Lally and then number 19. 111 competition Ferrari. Back here, the 04 of Colin Brown. Currently 5th in Pro-Am, yeah.
That's for 4th, right in front of him. Mark Miller hanging on here. A quiet year for Colin.
It really has, hasn't it?
Just huge respect for this kid's talent, what he's done over the years. But I really felt that with the Mercedes platform and Colin and George feels a lot more confident in this car than what he was driving last year. And I thought the results would have been slightly stronger, but right now he's definitely got his eye on the prize in front of him.
And that's 4th place Mark Miller in the Gradient Acura. And we're 1 minute left in this one. So for Vielander, next time by, white flag will fly. And here he comes through turn 11. Coming around, looking for that white flag. One more lap to go here at Sonoma Raceway. Tony Vielander, Miguel Molina, R. Ferry. As we go back on board the CrowdStrike Mercedes of Kurtz and Brown behind the wheel right now.
Done a great job. Just not flinching.
Ooh,
big wiggle there. Big wiggle. Colin's got to run. Chooses the left side. Will he try and flick to the inside? Nowhere to go with it. Ooh, and he loses that big time.
Yeah.
That drove was slow, gets out in the gray, no grip out there, couldn't hit the gas.
Well, he had to make the decision to not lose that run, didn't he? And just ended up, the only thing that Miller smartly was giving him was that outside. As Tony now for the last time working through the legendary S's here at Sonoma Raceway.
I tell you what, we saw those problems with the wheel gun and getting the wheels changed. If that had been delayed just 3 or 4 more seconds, we could be looking at a totally different complexion with Tony trying to chase down those Bentleys. But they had enough in hand with the gap that Molina had built to get away with the snafu in pit lane.
And even taking that back a little bit farther, if Hargrove hadn't had the issue at the start and was there in second, that complexion could have changed. But that's the ifs of motorsports, isn't it? The simple fact of the matter is Tony Vielander, Miguel Molina, R. Ferry, and Ferrari win at Sonoma Raceway and pad that point lead. Soule fending Perent off for second and third on the podium.
Look at Long. He's chased down that group in
Sure
front of
has.
him.
Here comes Cameron, though. This is going to be for the win in Pro-Am, and what a story as Acura wins Pro-Am with real time. And Cameron and Mike Hedlund, he might just be the story of this race.
Pat Long had a fast race car. Hargrove showed it at the front end of this race. Big problem in pit lane. Real time celebrate the second Pro-Am win of the year. Brett Curtis taking that victory. Ben Cameron at VIR on debut.
Yeah, absolutely superb run here. I mean, clinical for this our Ferry team here, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were tough.
Third win of the year. And Molina just was absolutely superb, as he always is as well.
Yeah, he just quietly gets it done, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does.
This
Speaking
isn't
of getting it
going down
done,
quietly.
I was going to say. Coming.
I think Collins tried to roll off the brake there and maybe loosen up a little bit. Wasn't quite close enough to make it happen.
What a finish. And Miller hanging on to fourth.
Nice job.
Yeah, it was. And
Miller, Till Bechtelsheimer, fourth in Pro-Am. Colin Brown, George Kurtz in the Crowd Strike Mercedes round out that top five.
you know, something happened on that last lap, Cal, because Campbell ends up second, but look at the margin to Werner in third, 6 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And Werner's lap of 45 to Campbell's 40. So you wonder if Werner didn't make a lunge somewhere.
Go somewhere, yeah.
Yep. He had to try it. He's a racer.
That's right. And, you know, once Long had a big run there at the finish, really took a huge chunk out of the gap to Holzer and Cameron.
Huge. Here's a look at the provisional results. And, again, just a great story with Hedlund and Cameron. They're 5th overall, winning in the Pro-Am category. Battle with Imperato and Campbell and Sofronis and Werner in the Porsches. Bechtelsheimer, Miller, Kurtz, and Brown hanging on there as well. Fuentes and Baccarella getting the win once again in the AM category. And of course, most unfortunately for the 63 DXDT Usalco Security National Mortgage Mercedes of Askew and Skeen. We never really got to see Mike Skeen do what Mike can do. And the number 80 for Martin Barkey and Kyle Marcelli. Their struggles as well. Good news is, reports are that both of those should be able to run tomorrow. And yeah.
Probably a little more intense than they thought it was going to be.
Yes, with that longest stop, but
yeah. At 40 minutes in, they thought this thing's totally under control, and then it got a little bit sideways, but celebrate another win.
well, and I mean, you know, to put it in perspective, had Molina not had that run, he would have had a lot less margin with that pit stop. Ryan?
It's a happy celebration down here, that's for sure. Miguel came leaping in to congratulate you, Tony. How much fun was that today?
It was good fun. A new track for both of us, and I think also for our team. So we are missing our engineer Roberto Capitosto, who is at home. So Luigi Dindo, perfect replacement. The godfather, the king of Sonoma, was with us. So really good. This is a hard track for the tires. So basically Miguel did our victory in the beginning. Just awesome pace. A little bit aggressive in the start, but you need to be. Scott Hargrove is one of the toughest fighters of our opponents, so great job, great moment going into turn one at the start. A bit scary, but after that, just a clean pit stop, and then was a good run.
Miguel, this track is a difficult one to wrap your head around. How were you able to adapt to it so quickly?
Yeah, actually, I didn't expect the degradation that the tires has here. It's a huge degradation on tires, and we had to manage this. Actually, we were in my stint, we were like 6 seconds slower than qualifying, so it was all about the tire management at the beginning. I could build a really good gap. That we know that the Ferrari is one of the best cars managing the tires on the field, so we had to take the disadvantage. and we are happy. We are, when you win a race, it's always a good sign. So still some races to go in the championship, but always if we can stay on top is always important.
Starting second in race 2 tomorrow, but congratulations, race 1 victorious.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they've just been a magical pairing since it started at the beginning of last season. And, you know, this is where you see, just as we take a look at some of these highlights, a pro like Molina never been here before. Little touch there, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's what Tony was talking about. First corner was a little bit lively. Hargrove just did an amazing job of keeping that car on the road, just dropping one further position. But he was very intent on making that up and finally got back by Baptista before the end of his stint.
And then Hedlund making the jump around that Allegra Porsche to get up into the top 5. And then this moment, Hargrove giving it another go here.
Yeah, just good, hard racing here. Baptista read it perfectly, gave him some racing room, and then had the inside line for the carousel.
And right here, completed it and made sure that he didn't get through. Hargrove wisely not leaving the door open for Soucek to come through. Bit of a moment here as the Allegra car skated, and Michael de Quesada bouncing through the chicane. And the over-under here playing out. Was Dane able to knife through, but boy, he had to go deep on the brakes, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and as you pointed out, Michael wouldn't have had very clean tires after that momentary off, so made the task a little bit easier.
And then the checker for the third time this year for our Ferry, and Vilander and Molina. As I said, you know, Tony's run here before, but for Molina to learn the track that fast, that's the sign of a real pro. Let's get back down to Ryan with our Pro-Am winners.
Dane Cameron and Mike Hedlund got it done in Pro-Am. Dane, you had the closing stint. You also had some out-of-class traffic that you had to deal with. You knew they were going to be aggressive. How did you manage that?
Yeah, I wasn't really too worried about them. I just thought if I had some pace to go by, I didn't want to get held up and get pushed back into the Pro-Am category. So for me, I mean, finishing higher up overall is always nice. It's a nice little bonus, but it really doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, we're in Pro-Am, so we're here to win Pro-Am. We did that. Mike had a really great opening stint. Did a phenomenal job in qualifying to be P1, first time in the car for him. So we're lucky to have him available this weekend. And yeah, great to get another win here. And thanks to Real Time, HPD, Acura for a great car. And we'll see if we can get another one tomorrow.
How impressive was Mike? Just a plug-and-play solution, it looked like.
Yeah, it was good. He did a great job. He felt comfortable right away. So again, speaks volumes of the capabilities of the NSX GT3 Evo. And it's perfect because he's a local guy. He's got a million laps around here. I used to be local. I used to have a million laps around here. I had to remember my way around. And he's driven all kinds of different GT3 cars and GT. So it was kind of the perfect fit, and he did a great job adapting. So definitely hats off to him. And he was the difference maker today to give me the car in the lead. And the boys did a fantastic job in the pits as well. We had a little bit of a buffer, and we came out with a really big buffer, and we were able to just kind of manage it from there and try to look after the tires on a really abrasive surface here in Sonoma.
Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, congratulations indeed. It was just a superb run, and again, Hedlund doing a great job. There's Nathan Bonneau, who oversees that real-time crew and does an incredible job, and so do these guys. Getting ready for the podium celebrations. It's a hard-working team. I'm sure they're going to be discussing that little bit of a delay in that stop, and we'll get that solved in a hurry. There's a look at James Safronis in the blue suit there, and the white suit, Dirk Berner.
I think the good news for the team was Tony didn't realize it wasn't a clean stop, because he said, oh, we had a good clean pit stop.
Yeah.
So probably that helped the emotion inside the cockpit.
That's a good point.
Not realizing they gave up the best part of 10 seconds, I think it was.
And what I was getting at before we went into the interviews, had Molina not built up that big lead, I mean, that was huge in terms of having a little bit of space with that pit stop. And, of course, winning an AM, Martin Fuentes and Cesar Baccarella. Ryan?
Martin's been taken off. He's got to drive the car back to the paddock, but we've got Cesar Baccarella to talk to, certainly a half of this dynamic duo. We missed you in Canada. Welcome back.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
And the victory today, able to put it all together. How was your race?
The Alpha Prime Hublot Maxim Ferrari was a handful today. It's hot. It was very slick, but just kept the four wheels on the track, and we pushed as much as we can, and just brought home the win.
We do have Martin here. He came to sit down on the wall, so we'll have you shuffle in real quick. Welcome back. I know your shoulder wasn't feeling that great. That's why we didn't have you in Canada. How are you feeling now, especially with a win?
After this heat, after this long race, it's a little bit painful, but we pulled the win. we're catching some points again, and we're looking forward to tomorrow's race.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
He must be hurting because when he wins, he's usually not quite that reserved.
Yeah, and he's feeling the pain and the heat, and it's
Yeah.
tough conditions out there. I mean, when you're working the car and you're up on the wheel all the time, the car never takes a set. That more than doubles the physical input that you're having to give to get through that long stint. And it's warm out there now, mid-80s ambient temperature, cockpit temperatures are high. That's a hard day's work.
It is indeed, and we've talked about it. And if you watch Pat Long's onboard lap, this place never gives you any time to relax at all. Beautiful shot there back at the north end of the bay, and this is just an absolutely phenomenal location. And it's great to be able to come here and put on a race and be able to call it. And nice thing, as we always say about these doubleheader weekends in Blancpain GT World Challenge, to have the ability to be able to do it again the next day and see how things unfold. So we hope you join us. We've got more racing, though, coming from here. We've got touring car action coming up in just a little bit.